In this video, I'm going to cover our entire lead list development workflow, every step we take to developing a qualified and verified lead list from pretty much whatever idea you have in mind for a contact list. I'm going to walk through that full process and how we can achieve that, starting from research and development to sourcing the companies that we want to go after, to then scraping the contacts and then qualifying and enriching the contact data that we scrape from this entire process and having that final product of a targeted, qualified, and verified lead list that you can use for your outbound campaigns. So diving into it, there's going to be 4 steps of our process. As I mentioned, R&D, research and development, contact, finding the companies, then finding the contacts, and then verifying and enriching. So I'm going to start with the research and development phase because this is it's arguably the most important part. If you don't do this, then you're just not going to have a qualified list. You're going to have a kind of a wishy-washy list. So you have to make sure to do this. So we have 2 main parts here. We have mapping the TAM and then also outlining the ICP. I'll go over mapping the TAM first. I have these 2 kind of beside each other instead of one after another because you kind of do it at the same time. But you do want to start with mapping your TAM first and then outlining your ICP, and then you need to do both to be able to get to this final point. So starting with TAM mapping. First, what we're going to do, we're just going to perform some deep research in GPT-03. Pretty much going to ask it, all right, can you give us a list of what are all the relevant industries we can service? So like have GPT analyze your service and just give a list of every single possible industry you can service. You honestly might learn a few that you may have not even known were serviceable with your offer. So we get that list first, and then you also want to scope out the base requirements such as like employee size, location, and that's really the main thing. Like we want to get base information. Like these are like the base requirements. This is not the ICP yet. This is just the overall total addressable market that we can technically reach out to, and they can utilize our service, right? Because TAM is not equivalent to ICP. ICP is your ideal customer profile, whereas your TAM is just everyone that can use your product, essentially. That's relevant to reach out to. So yeah, we want to outline all available industries that we can target. Once we have that information, I'll dive into that in a second, but with that information, we're going to need to actually outline our ICP as well, because if we don't know our ICP, then we're not going to be able to create these targeted and qualified lead lists that we want to create. We're not going to be able to find the best fit people that we actually want to reach out to, right? And really, all your ICP is like what makes a customer best fit to buy your product or service. And there's a few things. So the best way to get this information is by just analyze your current client base and also analyze your sales calls. Look at the reason, like why are these people buying? So go through your CRM, look through the data, see what types of companies are buying, see what type of people people are buying from the companies that you're reaching out to, or they're coming inbound. And take all the data you currently have in your CRM and use that to help build your ICP, right? That's something that we do at RevGrowth. We help our customers build their ICP because a lot of companies, they actually don't really know what their ICP is. They actually don't know like who is their best fit customer. They might know they know their TAM, they know like what companies they can service, but they actually don't know like what is the best fit customer that we should be reaching out to on a consistent monthly basis. So in this process here, we figure out, okay, so where are the best personas to sell to at these companies? So like, what are the job roles we should be reaching out to? Is like the director of marketing? Is it something more specific? Is it CRO? What does their team structure look like? Do they have, let's say 10 salespeople or more? What are common signals of buying behavior? So like if they recently received funding or if they're making certain hires, things like that. What technology use? Do they use like Marketo? Do they use HubSpot? What's like a relevant technology that we can sort of search for? What are common pain points that they have? So this is not really as important to the list building. This is more important to the messaging, I guess, but we can find data points that indicate pain points is really what we're getting out here. But you want to outline this because then you can use this information of like what's a common pain point to then find certain data points on the internet that we can scrape and qualify companies based off of. And then, what are the best companies? So like going back to industries, what are the best industries that you've worked with? Like, where are the ones that are easiest to get results for and just buy the quickest, things like that. So once you've outlined all of these, you want to just keep all these data points and sort of like decide like which of these data points should we be qualifying for? Like, what's the most important? Maybe let's say it's team structure, right? Maybe they need to have a built out sales team for it to make sense to work with you guys, or for them to be the most qualified. Or maybe they have to be using HubSpot or Klaviyo, something like that, right? The more the better, by the way. When it comes to being able to really refine your messaging, the more specific the ICP, the more tailored we can make our messaging. It's okay if you can't make it super broad or super narrow, but at least having an idea of this, having a few of these, like understanding sort of like their technologies, what are common pain points they have, things like this is going to be important to your overall entire outbound campaigns and also your list building. So once you have all the industries sort of outlined, plus the ICP data points that you want to kind of keep in mind when building your lead list and potentially qualifying for, we can then create list segments based on the ICP data we have and the available industries you have to target. So the reason why we want to combine these two things and why these two things are separate is because you can have a specific like persona or ICP that has certain pain points, but then it might be different. It's probably going to be different according to different industries, right? So with these, you need to kind of do deeper research and like create these different segments based on the different industries. So let's say we take a sales leader from a company that has 10 plus salespeople, and we're reaching out to construction companies. That persona in that industry is going to have it's going to be a different segment, ICP segment, than let's say that same sales leader with 10 employees at a manufacturing company. It's going to be two completely different scenarios, right? Or like let's say someone who's like a head of engineering. There's just going to be different scenarios depending on the industry. So you can have a persona, but depending on the industry, it makes a difference, right? And yeah, so anytime we build a list, we always want to choose one segment to target. We don't want to be mixing multiple segments together, because it's just it's gonna hurt our messaging because we can't get as specific with it. Now we're going to be diving into the actual how we're going to find the ICP companies. So first, before we find any contacts, we need to get the companies, right? So we'll run deep research using I use O3 in most cases. You can use Perplexity too. Well, I just want to find the best fit databases to source the accounts from. And there's pretty much three from every list that we build. There's really just like three different databases or types of databases that we source our companies from. First being online directories / Google Maps. So this is best for like scraping very niche data points or industries that are really hard to scrape. So let's say like you're scraping local, Google Maps is probably gonna be the best for that. Or if you're scraping some sort of like really niche, let's say you're scraping an association, like a company that's a part of like a specific industry association. You're gonna have to go to an online directory for that data. You're not gonna be able to scrape Apollo or Crunchbase for that. And with this, I mean, you can just use Instant Data Scraper or a custom scraper that you can build or find on Apify for this. But this is like, you want to do this if the list you're looking to build is very niche, right? And you can build some very powerful lists off this. Next is going to be like a dedicated account database. So this is things like Crunchbase built with, store leads, shovels. These are databases that are built for specific industries of companies or specific use cases for scraping accounts. And yeah, these are great. These are typically a better base to start off of for finding companies than let's say Apollo, because it's going to give a lot stronger data. These databases are typically updated a lot more often, and we'll just have more data in general on each of these industry companies, right? And with this, I mean, it's typically a more expensive route if you're going with one of these databases like Crunchbase are built with, or store leads, versus just using Apollo. So you typically just have to export it, or you can scrape with custom scraper if it's available. It's probably not. It's kind of gray hat, so up to you, but it's possible. And then third method, I mean, just building the list off Apollo. This is probably the cheapest and easiest way to build a list, but it's great for just building lists in bulk. Like, let's say you're looking to just push a ton of volume, you don't really care about targeting as much. You can just build a list off Apollo. I mean, it's not really going to hurt you. Apollo has definitely gotten better over the years, so it's a pretty decent place to build lists. We do build a good amount of lists just off Apollo. Um, so yeah, Apollo's fine. I have a video on how you can actually make Apollo searches a lot more targeted and accurate. Pretty much all you need to do is just go to Claude, have it generate keywords, plug it into the industry filters, and you can start building lists from there. But I don't mind scraping just from Apollo, because in the next step we can actually go ahead, or actually no, next step we can actually go ahead and qualify further within Clay and make the list refined from Apollo. So each one of these methods is good. Really just depends on the specific cases. And yeah, once we have our account list, then we'll go ahead and import to Apollo to find the best fit decision makers. So I just use we pretty much just use Apollo. We use Clay sometimes for finding people. I know Panda Match, they have, or not Panda Match, Disco like now. You can get people too for like personal context, stuff like that. But I'd say 99% of the time we're using Apollo to find the contacts, right? It's just a master database. It's easy to use. Pretty much has all the contact data you really need for most companies. So Apollo's great, and it's really cheap to scrape, which is super nice too. So Apollo, there's two ways you can go about it when it comes to finding the best fit decision makers. You can just filter for the seniority and function within their integrated tabs they already have, or you can go to like Sonnet 4 and create persona, job title, keywords for the keyword search, which typically is going to give you a lot more accurate list. So I always recommend doing this. Thing is with this, when you just use the filters they already have integrated, a lot of times you get a lot of really random roles that don't fit what you're actually looking for. So that's why I really recommend using Claude to generate keywords around the specific job title you want to go after. Once you have that list, just go ahead and scrape it. We use it Appify. Honestly, you really should not be paying for Apollo unless you're like an enterprise company. You want other data points, go ahead. But if you're just an agency or pretty much any company that's that doesn't need to pay for Apollo, then just use Appify to scrape Apollo. They have Apollo scraper. Use it. It's $1.20 for each 1,000 leads. Then once we have the list, we go ahead and import to Clay, and we want to run through our enrichment table. So I just filmed a video on this about 3 days ago, or maybe like 4 days ago, on our enrichment or sort of like general qualification and enrichment table that we use for pretty much all the lead lists we build now. And this covers the entire process. So it kind of goes like a two-step process. First, we qualify the companies that we get from our list, and then second, we enrich the contacts. So we don't enrich contacts first and then qualify. The reason why we do that is so we're not wasting enrichment credits. We only want to enrich contacts that are qualified, right? Instead of doing vice versa. So first, we start qualifying the companies from the ICP data points that we've laid out. This can be more rigorous for certain clients than others. Certain clients, they don't really need to do much. We'll just run a Clay search to make sure it's the industry company that we're going after. So some other clients, we need to go through 10 different data points to qualify companies. Really depends, but this is the general process that we do. So first, we'll have Claygen analyze the companies to confirm that they are a part of said industry that you're targeting or not. Super easy one to do. Pretty much just have Claygen give a summary, then use like GPT or Claude to analyze the summary to determine whether they are the industry company that you're going after. If you want to go further than this, you can go ahead and use Appify, Claygen, Zenrose, or Serper to pull unique data points that you're looking for certain qualification points. So let's say we're looking for, I think we were doing one for like, there was some sort of specific filing we were having Claygen search for each company. And if they hadn't done that filing, then they were unqualified. So you can do points like that, or just search for any other data points. Like if they have, let's say, if they have like an enterprise pricing that's over $5,000 for their SaaS platform, things like that. You can use Claygen, or AppFi or any of these tools, scraping tools to find this data. Then we also use Lead Magic to find any missing data points or incorrect data. So sometimes we'll pull a list from like some other database, and maybe like the employee count would be super off. Let's say like they only have 5 to 10 employees, but in reality they have like 10,000 plus. Lead Magic helps us, make sure that any of these missing data points on like company size or industry or company description, Lead Magic can find this for us, and we'll have that there. And once we have run these prompts, run the qualification, we'll go ahead and filter the leads according to the qualification data. And we don't always I didn't mention say like only filter for qualified leads, because the thing is, qualification can kind of vary. If we have leads that are unqualified but they are still a fit, we still might want to contact them, so we don't want to waste them. But it kind of depends on the case. So depending on that, you can determine whether you want to run those contacts through the waterfall enrichment or not. Once that's done, of course, run the qualified contacts to the enrichment waterfall. I forgot to put the steps, but I think everyone knows at this point. Just Prospeo, ICPs, Lead Magic, run it through, find more email data, phone number data if we need to, LinkedIn data if we need to. Once we have that, go ahead, verify the waterfall emails. Typically do emails in most cases, sometimes phone numbers. And yeah, once you get to that point, now you have a list of contacts that are ICP qualified and verified. And that's pretty much our full process. Looks more confusing than it actually is. But yeah, this is the most thorough way we've seen for building, targeted, qualified, and verified lists with, extra contact data that we need for getting the most out of our campaigns, right? So hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions on this workflow, let me know below. Thanks.